So much of the time that it seems that my task in a movie is to do something differently, you know, to walk through a door in some sort of interesting fashion.
The passion for art can take an actor to places they never thought possible.
And I'm trapped in this body, and I'm stuck with this face, and so I guess that kind of be childish at sometimes. But
The world has seen the rise of many talented artists, many of whom taking the world by storm, donning a plethora of roles. There is one gentle soul that most will know, one whose acting range has exceeded global expectations time and time again. From award-winning performances to personal achievements, the man that wanders all around the world. He goes by many names: America's father, Hollywood's nice guy, the Everyman. But we all know him as Tom Hanks. Thomas Jeffrey Hanks, born 9th of July in Concord, California. His mother, Janet Marilyn Frager, was from a Portuguese family, whilst his father, Amos Mefford Hanks, had English heritage. The climate of his upbringing was not gentle. Though Tom's parents were never cruel, his father Amos displayed a hardened demeanor throughout his years. As a child, Amos had witnessed the murder of his own father, Ernest Buell Hanks, on his family farm. Such a horrific incident would take a toll on his life, clouding his judgment of the world, and unfortunately resulted in a reserved, cold outlook, one without optimism or appreciation of the arts, and subsequently a lack of attention to his offspring. In 1960, Tom's parents divorced. His eldest siblings, Sandra and Larry, joined him with his father, whilst his youngest brother, Jim, remained with his mother in California. Tom was an exceptionally withdrawn and shy child, moving from home to home due to his father's working life. By the age of 10, Tom and his siblings had lived in 10 different households.
My family situation and what my dad did for a living, yeah, we moved around quite a bit.
Well, I noticed a lot of actors, for instance, a lot of them came from military families where they had to do the same kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, you would think that wouldn't give you stability. But in a way it does, in an odd sort of way it does give you a center, doesn't it?
Well, I think that what it gave me, and that, you know, my brothers and sisters would probably all have something else that they had to say, but it gave me a very small bag of needs. I think I could pretty much land in a brand new circumstance. Social circumstances, brand new school, brand new house, brand new place, brand new city, brand new group of people around me, and be pretty confident that I was all right. You know, and that is, you know, excellent training for an actor.
There was an air of loneliness, as Tom would feel little emotional support from his parents. In 1965, Amos would marry Tom's stepmother, Frances Wong, a native of San Francisco with Chinese descent. Tom attended Breet Hart Middle School. He was known to be quite unpopular, quoting himself as a geek and terribly, painfully shy at the time. Though living an uncomfortable life, Tom ensured to remain a responsible student, rarely getting into trouble and keeping himself closed off.
Did it take you a long time to get confidence in yourself?
No, I think that for some reason, I had it at a pretty early age. I remember being able to go into a school and not be really intimidated by anything that went on there until some guy slugged me in the head. Then I'd be intimidated by something.
Well, I remember reading something about you once, that you were like you went through a phase where you were a class cut-up, and you were also...
Oh, I think all my life I've been some form of the class cut-up, yeah. Yeah, I was that in high school. But I never I never pushed authority. I never got in trouble. I'd always played within the rules. And if I needed to get outside of the rules, I would only do it with the teachers who would let me. So I was never a delinquent.
His mother adopted Catholicism, though for a period of time, Tom would find his own religious view with an interest in pursuing philosophical thought. He deeply immersed himself in evangelical Christianity.
But didn't you go through a super serious kind of stage too, a religious stage, or
it was a degree of seriousness that went along to it, but it was so directly associated to the group of people, you know, and we had fun at that. Yeah. So, I mean, it was something nice to hang on to. It was a lot better than, you know, smoking dope and listening to Led Zeppelin records, which is what other people did. I just didn't do that.
After middle school, he attended Skyline High School in Oakland, California, making very little money by selling popcorn and peanuts outside the Coliseum. Tom graduated from high school in 1974, leaving with relatively low SAT scores. Without the finances to attend college, he decided to enroll in Chabot, a community college which presented Tom with a multitude of courses. It was fate that led Tom to taking up theater, and soon his talents began to flourish. Tom immersed himself in theater for 2 years. During this time, he met Vincent Dowling, head of the Great Lakes Theater Festival in Cleveland, Ohio. It was thanks to Vincent that Tom attended an internship at the festival before being given the offer to remain for 3 years as a production assistant, tending to lighting, set design, and costumes. Though Tom had transferred to California State University in Sacramento, this opportunity gave him a reason to drop out of college, as his desires to be immersed into the world of theater overcame his care for education. This isn't to say he left everything behind. At Sacramento, Tom formed a friendship with Samantha Luz, who he met during acting classes. Tom, 21 at the time, found the 25-year-old Samantha helped battle his loneliness. Being an aspiring actress herself, the two formed a romantic relationship, and not long after, Samantha became pregnant. In 1977, Tom's first son, Colin Hanks, was born. Though Tom loved working on set, he began to realize his true calling was performing on stage as one of the actors. Tom would win his first award, the Cleveland Critics Circle Best Actor, in 1978. Such an award was presented for Tom's role as Proteus in Shakespeare's The Two Gentlemen of Verona, one of the very few times Tom would play a villain. In 1978, the young couple, Tom and Samantha, were married. Hanks moved to New York City to debut in his very first low-budget slasher film, He Knows You're Alone. He would go on to work on more projects, starring in Mazes and Monsters, a television movie inspired by the role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons.
Well, when I was in school, I ended up going to the theater around the San Francisco Bay Area alone because I couldn't get anybody to go with me. And seeing the great plays and great theaters, I had wanted to work in that arena. I liked the energy that was focused in a theater on stage. But I had originally started as a stage manager or a stage carpenter or lighting designer, things like that. And through osmosis and exploration in college and whatnot, realized that if you're going to be in the theater, the most energy, the focal point of it all is really on stage as an actor, underneath those lights and in front of that stage manager. So eventually I just kind of, through osmosis, drifted off into that.
In the same year, Tom and Samantha's daughter, Elizabeth Hanks, was born. Remaining faithful to his theatrical roots, Tom would return to the stage in Niccolò Machiavelli's The Mandrake with the Riverside Shakespeare Company. Soon after, in 1981, Hanks would land one of his first lead roles in Bosom Buddies, a television series running for 2 short seasons featuring Tom and Peter Scolari as advertising men. donning women's clothing in order to remain residents in an all-women's hotel. Though the show was short-lived, the co-producers noticed Tom's natural on-screen ability. A quote from Ian Fraser on Rolling Stone stated, "Too bad he won't be on television for long. He'll be a movie star in 2 years."
And so when the opportunity came off and do TV, I wasn't about to pass it up because this was bold new territory in order to to strike out and try, see if you could learn anything and be good at it.
On the set of Bosom Buddies, Tom would meet Rita Wilson. The two hit it off and became close friends in a heartbeat. As the early 80s swept in, Tom met writers Lowell Gans and Babalu Mendel from a guest appearance in Happy Days. The two were developing a script for the feature film Splash, a romantic comedy depicting a mermaid falling in love with a human. Director Ron Howard was informed by the writers of Hank's suitability for the bizarre premise. Though Howard initially considered Hanks for the role of Freddie, Alan's brother, Hanks landed the role of lead protagonist. The film would go on to being a sudden box office success, catapulting Hanks into new roles such as Bachelor Party, signifying the start of Tom's close relationship with director Ron Howard. Unfortunately, in 1984, Tom and Samantha would start to live separate lives due to misunderstandings and rising complications between the couple. Soon, the two would drift apart and plan to file for divorce. Following Tom's 3 guest appearances on Family Ties in 1986, he was presented with the opportunity to step out of the realm of comedy and dip his toes into more dramatic roles. He would play David Bashner, a successful advertising executive who deals with the repercussions of his parents' divorce after 36 years. Nothing in common allowed Tom to find common ground with his father in a way. Though his father was not outspoken of his past, the film served as a way of reconnecting and understanding each other through the means of art and performance. It was in this same year Tom would go public with his relationship with Rita Wilson. Though dealing with emotional hardships, it was in 1987 that Tom's credibility as an actor rose. He signed a deal with Walt Disney Studios, where he remained in a pool of talent for potential selection. Sadly, Tom and Samantha would divorce. Going their separate ways, Tom would admit the relationship was primarily caused from his own loneliness and irresponsibility at a young age. Just a few days after the divorce, Samantha would slowly fall ill.
For Josh Baskin, life was a little unfair.
I told you to take out the garbage. Mr. Bus. I'm going to tell you again, Josh. Joshua Baskin.
Until he made a little wish.
Tom Hanks' appearance in Big solidified him as a major Hollywood star. A fantasy comedy about a pre-adolescent boy whose wish to become an adult becomes reality. No stranger to absurdism, Tom embraced the man-child persona and was nominated for the Academy Award following his incredible performance.
You have to start off with a character, and in acting blah blah terms, actors finding a center for the way your character moves, and it all comes out like that. In the case of Big, what I remember about being 12 and 13 years old is being all elbows and knees. It's like your body is growing too fast for your muscles or something like that, and so you're kind of out of control, and there's a lack of discipline, but there's also a lack. I honestly don't know how I move as a regular human being, because it changes depending on what you're wearing, and this is another aspect of acting technique, blah blah, finding a character, is because once you discover the clothes that the guy's going to wear, that makes a very, very big difference.
In the same year, both Tom and Sally Fields co-starred as struggling comedians in Punchline. Just a year after his divorce with Samantha, Tom would marry Rita Wilson at the St. Sophia Cathedral in London. After the ceremony, Tom would convert to Greek Orthodox in respect of Rita's ancestry and open-mindedness to faith. On the 4th of August, 1990, Tom's second son, Chet Hanks, was born, 5 years before his third son, Truman Hanks, on the 26th of December. Tom would discover the myth of being a so-called perfect parent, opting to try the best he could at raising his children despite his massive public image. On many occasions, his sons and wife are seen with him at red carpet awards as they celebrate as a family. Tom's career took a slight decline during the late 80s, starring in a few underperforming films which received lukewarm receptions, especially in Bonfire of the Vanities, where it was apparent Tom was seemingly miscast for the role. With his rising image as Hollywood's Mr. Nice Guy, playing sadistic characters pulled many out of the film. Tom then starred in A League of Their Own in 1992. Such early performances were considered by Tom as pretentious and over the top.
The odds, I always felt, were 50-50. I always felt that I was as good as 50% who were there. So, you know, if I'm what they're looking for, I have a 50-50 shot. I always felt that I was better than the other 50%, just because I'm a selfish actor with a swelled head. But I think you have to have that as you're sitting there, and it's not a false ego bolstering, confidence building kind of move. I always just viewed that as the facts, that on a good day in which I'm prepared, that I can deliver the goods.
It wasn't until 1993 where Hanks had reached what he considered his modern era of filmmaking. He decided to adopt a new perspective on acting outside of his theatrical range. He starred in Nora Ephron's Sleepless in Seattle, a massive blockbuster success and one which granted Tom incredible reviews. Tom Hanks' next film would act as a tonal change, both in his acting ability and career recognition.
I think we do too.
So are you big, Tommy, are you big Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan fan?
Yeah,
Definitely.
We love
You
them
bet,
both. They're
yeah.
both great, and together it's going to be really great.
But I am intrigued as an actor by the situation that creates. To be the average guy in an extraordinary situation is, I mean, that's where you explore emotion and ideas and themes.
Tom adopted method acting, losing 35 pounds of weight and bleaching his hair to play as Andrew Beckett, a homosexual lawyer suffering with AIDS in Philadelphia.
I was heavy to begin with because of a bunch of residual weight from another movie. And in order to take off everything that I could, I went on a very structured physical regimen, a diet and exercise that was every day, 7 days a week for, I don't know, 16 years. It seemed like 16 years. It was 4 or 5 months.
His memorable performance shed light on the stigma of homosexuality during the time of release, combating the taboos of gay relations, and triggered the conversation of gay rights among the 90s mainstream viewers.
If this was 1962, and Rock Hudson had to pretend to be married to his publicist secretary, and Luella Parsons was still stabbing people in the back with her newspaper column, maybe it would be a tough role to take on. But believe me, in the United States and in the UK, there is stuff on free TV day in and day out that make me playing a homosexual small potatoes in comparison.
Philadelphia would act as Tom's grand entrance into the limelight, as his portrayal won him the 66th Academy Award for Best Actor. If things couldn't get better than winning one Oscar, Tom would play the titular character in one of Hollywood's most memorable productions. In 1994, Forrest Gump was released, grossing over £600 million at the box office and presented audiences with quotes that remain in use until this day.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Delightful.
This is wonderful. I was talking to Steve Tisch, and I understand that it took him like 9 years to develop this project. How was it for you working on this project? Because you have so many different characters that you're playing all in one.
Well, I was lucky that I came on right at the same time Eric Roth did, so we actually talked about it philosophically and particularly for quite some time before, probably a year before the script was written. So when it came in and it was what it was undeniably a thing that was worth shooting. Bob was involved, and there we were, instantaneously.
How did it feel after you saw it when it was edited with all those famous figures like over your shoulder and in the scenes because of morphing and stuff?
Well, that's all a pretty goofy sensation, but you see it and you realize the odds are against you making a good movie. So anytime that you think you've done that, you break the bank in Monte Carlo.
Yeah. Well, the odds are not against you, Tom Hanks, of making a good movie, or your wife Rita Wilson. You know, he's got Oscars on the wall to prove it.
Yeah, it's nice to have it too, and a bunch of swimming trophies.
And many nominations.
So much of what, movie goes in is you got to play someone who's tortured or racked or going through something that is somehow driving him to distractions. And Forrest Gump just doesn't know what that means. And so there ends up being a much more kind of pure reaction to the world as opposed to interaction with the world. And that was fun.
You've gone from playing a very intelligent character in Philadelphia to playing someone not so bright. Is that really fun for an actor to move that far across the mental?
Well, it's funny, I've never really thought about it that way. The nature of the movies are so incredibly different. He's not poisoned by any sort of cynicism. But because of that, it can be taken as a great naivete. He only knows three things. He knows about God, he knows about his mama, and he knows about the woman that he loves, Ginny. And after that, he needs nothing else in order to keep him going.
Tom would win yet another Academy Award, being the second actor to do so back-to-back after Spencer Tracy. Before wanting to become an actor, Tom Hanks' greatest ambition was to be an astronaut. It was in 1995 that he reunited with Ron Howard, and Tom's dreams became reality with the release of Apollo 13. Tom's admiration and fascination with the galaxy would later land him the NASA Public Service Award for his commitment to increasing the public's interest in space. Furthermore, the asteroid 12818 Tom Hanks was named after him in respect of his achievements.
What to say by that? I didn't want to insult George. I don't think I did. But we think that these fantastic machines and these amazing senses of accomplishment are relegated only to science fiction and the fantasy of motion pictures. And just the fact that we've already had robots that have explored Jupiter in some ways and in Mars in other ways. But we've had human beings that have already traveled to distant planets on voyages. What's the line from Star Trek? Boldly gone where no men have gone before.
What kind of things could we do as citizens to curb global warming?
To curb global warming, you can buy the right kind of refrigerator, you can drive the right kind of car, you can conserve the right kind of energy and resources, you can plant trees, you can not destroy trees, you cannot pave over something that shouldn't be paved over. You can write your congressman and make sure that more wildlife refuges are saved, preserved, and even created.
Is the Bush administration doing enough to curb global warming? I think by and large you'd have to say no. I think almost at any time, whatever administration that is in the White House could do more. I think in the case of our present administration, he's got a lot of things on his plate, no doubt about it. We have the greatest respect for our elected officials, but you know what? Part of the elected officials that serve every 4 years have to think about the next 40 years at the same time. So that's when they have plenty of time to get on that bandwagon. If you ask me. I gotta go.
Jim Level, tell us what it was like when you met him the first time. You actually playing his role, playing him. Well, you know about the incident.
Oh yes, yeah, I knew all about it. So I was meeting not somebody, a very accomplished hero from my point of view, and
I think I thought what everybody thinks of when they first meet Jim. They think, boy, you know, astronauts are not that tall. They're just not that tall.
I think that irony is what sets it above any of the other stories that actually occurred. They're all fascinating stories of how we got to the moon and back. But here, that the triumph actually comes out of this failure to achieve the flight's goals, I think actually makes it much more accessible to everybody.
I could say that honestly. Yeah. I don't think we ever got mad at each other at all, which is really kind of pathetic.
I think I actually kind of looked forward to being able to go into the set because it was a much tighter unit. We could just mumble to each other very quietly, and maybe talk to Ron over the headsets, but we got to clear out. Well, there was usually one special effects guy down at our feet holding some kind of thing up there for us. How you doing down there? Good to see you. You all right? You have some good lunch? Yeah. Kind of like that.
Later that year, Tom would try his hand at something completely new, setting his sights on voice acting for the much-loved Toy Story franchise. Not only was this Tom's first role acting in an animated film, it was also the first film to be computer animated. Not only did Tom portray Woody, a loved character by millions, he also took part in a historical achievement which would later branch into the world of modern 3D animation.
Yes, I am. I am the cowboy. The tall, lanky, brooding loner of a cowboy.
So how does this differ from all your other movies that you have done before?
Jeepers, I've never played a cartoon character who was a tall, lanky cowboy before.
So this must be really exciting and different. A whole new world.
It's with relatively not too much, not a lot is expected of me. Tim.
Hey, look, everybody. You're so cute. You're alive.
It's Tim Allen.
No, not me. I'm an adult now. I'm very big now. I'm big, I'm powerful, and I'm an adult. I have no child left.
You know, in fact, he is really big. He tried to crush everybody who was in the recording studio.
Yeah.
He kind of came in and said, hello, I'm Tim Allen. I will crush you.
Where's my masseuse?
I will crush you now.
Where's my masseuse? I can't see a massage is going.
In 1996, Hanks makes his directing debut with That Thing You Do, and co-produced and co-directed the docudrama From Earth to the Moon, a costly and ambitious project which proceeded to win an Emmy.
Columbia, this is Houston reading you loud and clear. The EVA is progressing beautifully.
Just when Tom had seemingly reached the height of his career, he decided to team up with Steven Spielberg in 1998 on Saving Private Ryan. The depiction of World War II achieved another Best Actor Award nomination for Hanks, alongside being a technical marvel to rival Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now. The journey into the 2000s proved equally successful. Tom would star in timeless blockbuster hits, The Green Mile and Toy Story 2, before tying the knot with Castaway in the year 2000.
I'm going to talk to this lady. Hello, how are you?
I'm
Any questions for me?
Yes. What's it like working on an animated film instead of just like a non-animated?
Well, when you're in an animated movie, all you're doing is going inside this dark room and standing in front of a music stand with a microphone above it, and that's all you get to do. When you make a real movie, you're outdoors, you're in a costume, there's other people to talk to, so it's a very different thing. This is like doing a radio play in your room all by yourself into a tape recorder, and people are on the other side of the door listening to everything you say.
Did you have fun working on this movie?
I think I had a lot of fun. I think the people are great, and I think they took very good care of us, and I think they made a nice movie.
Tom, you've had a pretty illustrious career. When you see all these kids out here, you see a whole new generation of people coming to see your film. How does it make you feel?
Well, film is forever, thank goodness, and it's always intimidating because you don't. I don't think anybody who makes movies wants to let them down. You always hope that they're going to get. They're going to come out and they're saying, well, that was 90 minutes that was very well spent in some way.
What about the binging and dieting?
The what?
The binging and dieting.
I did not binge, but I did diet. No purging, no binging, no purging, just be careful what you eat and get a lot of exercise. I think I had somehow considered every conceivable solitary confinement, POW, castaway story in my own head, and tried to pare it down to literally how do you fight that? How do you get taking care of your day, and nothing's coming over that horizon to not even just rescue you, but to distract you from everything that's just around. I'm glad I had 7 years to prepare for it. The faith that you have to have is that Bob is a filmmaker and Bill is a writer are constantly going to be testing the material so that what I'm doing up alone on a screen, however long it is actually reflective of the audience's struggle in their own daily lives, even though it would seem as though it have nothing to do with it. If you can do that, that's the great power of the cinema.
Hanks returned to the filmmaker's chair in 2001, directing and producing HBO's Band of Brothers. Whilst scouting locations, Tom would accidentally fall through the rotting floor of a building in Germany. The incident resulted in a dislocated shoulder. Though injured, Tom would fight on and continue with the production of the show.
Peter, I can't come to your concert tonight. I'm working.
Working at what?
Though a slightly lesser-known project, one of Hank's personal favorite endeavors was Road to Perdition, directed by the legendary director Sam Mendes.
You'd fall into his clutches, so to speak, and make the film. He's the finest director I've ever worked with, and I've worked with good directors.
Well, I think it's always the relationship between fathers and son is a very, very, very complex thing with all sorts of layers that just seem to go on and on forever. So anytime you can do anything that can tap into those kind of universal feelings, even in the confines of a big gangster movie, it can touch anybody.
In 2002, Hanks and his wife Rita would co-produce My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Establishing a close relationship with his fellow directors, Tom would remain busy, also starring in the Spielberg classic Catch Me If You Can. Spielberg would go on to present the American Film Institute's Life Achievement Award, and Tom would be the youngest ever to receive such a prestigious accolade. Sadly, on March 12th, Samantha Luz passed away from bone cancer at the age of 49. Upon confirmation, Tom was deeply hurt from the news, as Samantha had provided him with an unfathomable amount of support in his younger years. Her burial would take place at Sacramento, and her legacy as an actress would live on with both the public and Tom. Tom's filmography had seemingly no end in sight. Participating in giant projects every year, Tom was established as a man who could embody any character that was thrown at him.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bob, wave, Bob. I can't see where you are. I don't know. Okay, hey, you visual effects geeks, you clean up really good, I must say. Usually I see you in some cramped production office or one of those industrial parks out in the valley, and you're wearing year-old running shoes, and you're wearing cargo shorts, and you're exhausted, eating pizza and Diet Cokes for months on end, looking at me on a little tiny computer monitor somewhere, and you always say the same things to me. Boy, you're much taller in real life, Mr. Hanks. And I say, hey, you just keep working hard and make me look so good or so strong or so fast or so whatever it is you're making me look. So it's a real pleasure to be here.
Raking in great success with the Coen brothers' film The Lady Killers, Spielberg's The Terminal, and Robert Zemeckis' Polar Express, where Tom played 5 different on-screen characters, a huge statement for the incoming age of motion capture technology. In 2005, Hanks was voted as Vice President of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, thanks to his outstanding contribution to the arts. From acting in The Da Vinci Code and producing the animated film The Ant Bully, Tom would be approached by many executives to maintain his creative trajectory. Producing Starter for 10 and acting in Charlie Wilson's War and The Great Buck Howard, all before dipping his toes into the much-loved musical Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia, here I go again. My, how can I resist you?
And how could you possibly resist this? Stars, Super Troopers, and dancing queens galore. Mamma Mia is the ultimate celebration of everything ABBA.
In 2010, Toy Story 3 grossed over $1 billion, making it the highest-grossing animated film at the time. Hanks had become synonymous with population, but with children too. On one encounter, a child in an elevator refused to believe Tom played as Woody from the franchise.
And then the mother tries to explain, no, the voice is recorded. And the actor who is the voice, this is the actor. The kids just don't get it at all. They say, where's the vest? Where's the cowboy hat? You're not very tall. And so I say, all right, close your eyes. And they go, what? She says, just close your eyes. And the kid goes, and then I said, we got to get back to Andy's room right away, guys. And then they go,
In 2013, Hanks opened up about his type 2 diabetes diagnosis, a causation from, as he stated, unhealthy eating habits and poor genes. Tom, however, would not let his diagnosis hinder his work rate or performances, and instead chose to find a healthy medium, opting for daily exercises and finding healthier eating habits to ensure his own longevity. Continuing his journey, Tom would take the role of James Donovan in Bridge of Spies, releasing his own book, Alan Bean +4, along the way. Tom had developed a unique style in how he approached his many characters.
if we don't get this right, we're doomed. You know, if we don't get some aspect of life in 1961 in Berlin down correct, we're really quite, we're fools.
Though all unique, he would excel and subsequently be praised for his ability to perform as ordinary characters in extraordinary situations. Being a man of the people, in 2016, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian award, by President Barack Obama.
Hitler's armies would not have stopped their killing had we not fought them on the beaches and on the landing grounds, in the fields and on the streets. We must never forget that there was nothing inevitable about our victory in that terrible war. It was won through the courage and character of our people.
Tom Hanks was shown some big love in the Big Apple at Lincoln Center's star-studded tribute to the actor. Stepping out for the gala were Tom's wife, Rita Wilson, and son Colin, plus a slew of A-list friends from actresses Julia Roberts, Charlize Theron, and Sally Field to director Steven Spielberg, Ron Howard, and Robert Zemeckis.
I loved it. It's effortless with a person like that. He's so kind and lovely, and it's just great. He's been so consistently good for so long that it's very exciting to be here to honor somebody like him because it's so deserved.
He's just an amazing guy. He really is. Wonderful talent and just incredible.
He's on Everyman. He's eminently watchable, and he's a really nice guy, which is fantastic.
His ambition has driven him not to necessarily be more commercial, although he has been, but to be creatively ambitious.
There's that scene in Forrest Gump where he's talking to Jenny's grave, and I turned around and the entire crew was like crying behind the camera. So it's there, and it's really real.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Please won't you be?
A perfect coincidence arose when Tom portrayed the role of Fred Rogers in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. The role had Tom apprehensive at first, as Mr. Rogers was a very public figure and would need a strong performance to bring his gentle persona back to the screen. As it happened, this came naturally to Tom, who later found out he was related to Fred. The two men being sixth cousins, sharing the same 5 times distant grandfather who immigrated to America from Germany in the 18th century.
There's a thing that has just never changed for me. When I was in university, and I didn't know that there was such a thing as being an actor for a living. I just thought, you know, that's only for like movie stars or something like that. But then when I started going to the theater, I'd be watching anything from Shakespeare to Eugene O'Neill to any of the great plays, and I just thought, I had this great yearning just to be a part of it, just to be part of being somebody else and saying this very specific dialogue and being part of this great story. And when I started studying the theater, you know, by accident, I guess, there was just no life like it.
Surprisingly, this wasn't Tom's only known ancestor. Hanks had known from a young age that he was also a distant cousin of not only the former President Abraham Lincoln, but also Walt Disney, who Tom depicted in the film Saving Mr. Banks in 2013.
Never ever just marry. Now, where is Mr. Disney?
She's here.
Well, Pamela Travers, you can't imagine how excited I am to finally meet you.
Would you mind? My name is Mrs. Travers, Mr. Disney.
Chris with GMA Philippines. My question to you is Keanu Reeves. There's a handful of Hollywood actors and actresses that everybody seems to love. How have you weaved through all of these years as a career in Hollywood, not gotten many people pissed off at you? And no scandals, all that.
Well, you know, I don't know. It's not an agenda. It's no strategy to it. I will just say this, and I have worked briefly with Keanu. He has a wonderful answer to those questions. What is it like being? How is it to be so well regarded, well liked? And he always says, well, it's preferable to the alternative, which is true. I'd rather be, you know, appreciated than loathed. That's just me. But I will say that years and years, when I realized that being an actor was a thing, a job, a craft, a pursuit you could have, I didn't think there was be anything that could possibly be more fun.
Unfortunately, Tom and his wife, Rita, were struck with the coronavirus during the 2020 pandemic. Though many worried for his health, he would reassure the public of his well-being. Opting to make good of the situation, he and his wife donated their blood for the research against the virus.
Take your Theraflu. Don't get what I have. I had half my household had the other flu, you know, that comes out both ways. I got lucky. I just have a horrible cold.
Making a hasty comeback, Tom appeared on Saturday Night Live, finding his footing once more in the world of stage performance. Though he has aged, not once has Tom Hanks taken a break from acting. Instead, taking on as much work as possible to entertain the public and experience new characters.
And how was Tom? How did Tom fare next to you in the cockpit?
He did okay. No, I'm kidding. He's awesome. Tom's one of our big boys. He's given us such great performances. He's an awesome person. It was a pleasure and a privilege to be next to him in this movie. I think he gives a great performance. I was in awe of him. And the same thing with Clint. I mean, we're working with really good people here, people that I've admired my whole life.
What are we gonna do?
We'll bring hell down from on high.
From Greyhound to Finch, Tom would find himself starring in Baz Luhrmann's Elvis in 2022. Shortly after, he made an appearance as Geppetto in Disney's live-action iteration of Pinocchio. In 2023, Tom has made a statement, starring in A Man Called Otto, a very rare occasion he would play a grumpy, downtrodden character in order to break his own conventions. Following this, Tom would collaborate with Wes Anderson for the first time in his career. Starring in Asteroid City, a casting Tom would no doubt suit, thanks to his ongoing advocacy for space research.
So you played in so many movies. Which one of them is your favorite?
Oh, that's impossible to say. All of them were magical. You have to separate out the experience of making the movie and the way it is taken in by the marketplace. They do not correlate. I've made movies that were uncomfortable and just fun enough, and they've done well. And I've made movies that I've loved every second of it, and they come out and the audience seems to be perhaps confused by them. I will say this, though, however, I have never, ever regretted being part of an ensemble or the adventure that a movie comes along. I must say one of the great things is you can always say, well, they didn't get in the United States, but man, are we crushing it in Eastern Europe. They love our movie in Eastern Europe. It's playing great. So that's a good thing to know.
To travel from one place to another, from one personality to the next, the life of an actor is a hardship. From pure consistency, versatility, and durability, Tom Hanks has faced hardship head-on and not once has stopped for a break. He has brought warmth to the hearts of millions around the world with his dynamic powerhouse performances, known by adults and children alike. From humble beginnings to becoming one of the greatest actors of the modern day, what makes the world love this gentle nomad of the arts isn't just his ability to accommodate the extraordinary, but also to be completely and utterly ordinary.